Okay. Let's see if this is working. Let's see if this is working. All right. Huh. Can you see me? If you can see me, somebody in the live chat, all right. Say hello. Let me turn the feedback off. Just type something in the comments or something, I don't know, because I have a comment window and a coder, iPad here, YouTube there, and I'm about to, oh, okay, hey, Robin can see me. Hey, everybody, not judging. It's okay. It's okay, we can be judgy. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. How is everybody? Good morning. Let me just adjust this. I apologize. This is going to be rusty for the first little bit as I get through sorting this, and I'll explain that in a second. I want to say good morning to everybody, and I hope once again this is the best morning of the week, and maybe the best morning of the day. So I want to, despite the fact we discuss issues that are a little bit negative, frustrating sometimes, like the technical issues using eCam, which I think I've just sorted out. Is it Friday? Robin's telling me it's Friday. I don't even know. Honestly, I've lost track. It's all one blur now. My schedule's all over the place. I just look at my calendar every day, and whatever day it is, whatever I have to do on it, I do. So... But yeah, despite the fact that we talk about things that might be a little bit frustrating for a lot of us, I want to start in this sort of positive frame because I think there's a lot of good and positive things coming down the pipeline in the future, and we all should be ready to celebrate it. If I'm looking if you're not catching me dead straight sometimes, it's because I actually have two devices here. So I have an iPad and a MacBook, and one is using the encoder, which ultimately I'm going to use to stream to a bunch of different platforms, and then the other is to locals. So there is a method to my madness, and I'll explain that as it goes forward. You know, so some of you who will probably be watching later know I've been producing podcasts for a few years. And to do a podcast properly, it takes me depending on the type, between 800 and 1,000 hours just to set it up, just to create it. So you have to have the first few episodes recorded, seeded, graphics, infrastructure, social media, all of that stuff. It really adds up, and it takes a lot of time. So I'm trying to cheat the system. What I'm trying to do is I'm just going to build the infrastructure as we go. So yeah, it's going to be a little rough here and there, but over time, I think it'll get better. And as well, I know over time more and more people will be joining. And this is kind of our time to talk back and forth. So the reason I've asked about the live chat and the first test I did was on the comments is because this is for you guys too. So post your questions, comments, whatever it is in the chat. And I may have questions, I may not know the answer. I want to be able to ask you guys too that you may know. So I want to make this as interactive as possible. So please feel free to use the comments and the live chat. Important development this week, Getter, the platform Getter, now has private messaging or DMs, which was its weakness compared to Twitter. So by all means, join Getter if you haven't joined already. Don't hesitate to send me a message. There's a little bit less traffic there, so it's a lot easier to get in touch with me through direct message on Getter since it's brand new and most people don't know that it's there. And it's important that we have a competitor to Twitter. And more on that later. I'll get to that later on in our discussion here. The people who are on locals, there's an email apparently that goes out when I set up a stream. I'm going to talk to the locals people here. there's an email that goes out that I don't know what it is. It's a default email about joining the community or whatever, and it says it costs like $5 or something like that, for $5 a month. I'm not sure exactly. I don't know how to turn it off. The thing with locals is I built the locals as we were doing the Freedom Convoy, and I was dealing with Dave Rubin, not Dave Rubin directly. I dealt with him first, but with Dave Rubin's brother-in-law, who actually runs all of locals. He was a really nice guy, by the way. He's an amazing guy. So they set up a whole bunch of stuff for the community that I just said, okay, when you have it ready, just let me know and we'll start using it, because they knew I wanted to promote locals and Dave's work and all that sort of stuff. So if there are some, automated emails that go out and whatever, I have no clue. I'm trying to figure it out when I have time. I'm trying to work through all of this stuff. I will get to it. I'll figure out what the issue is. But like I said, it's a work in progress. So I mentioned the building a podcast takes, 800 to 1,000 hours. And for those of you who haven't watched Not on Record, is a podcast in production right now. It's a legal podcast with Diana Davison, Joseph Newberger, Chris Essie. Both are criminal defense lawyers here. It's an excellent podcast, Open College, with Professor Stephen Hicks, who wrote Explaining Postmodernism. I just met with Stephen last week, actually, and he's going to be, we're going to be getting into the next season. And part of this is me testing different infrastructure options for Stephen moving forward. So if Stephen ends up doing any sort of live stream discussion on his podcast platform, well, it may have originated here. So we'll see if our strategy works. The first person to post a comment on the first live stream, if you want to call it that, was somebody by the name of Ryan C7. So Ryan C7, thank you for being the first person to join during the stream. And Ryan, I hope it's a 7-speed and not an automatic. For those, hopefully he'll understand what that means. I'm pretty sure he does. For the rest of you, all I'll have to say is any generation Corvette that's black with chrome wheels is sex on wheels, in my opinion. I mentioned the book in the first stream. We're just crossing over 40,000 words. We're working on the Bitcoin chapter right now, which is quite fascinating, getting some big Bitcoin names helping and with some of the research and explaining, what was going on from their perspective. And so we're looking for pictures. I've reached out to a couple people through Instagram. Yes, I have an Instagram. It's more of I don't really use it all that much. It's more personal, although I'm not sure if I should be using it or if I should incorporate it in this. But anyways, I've reached out to a couple people who have some amazing pictures that they took during the Freedom Convoy, and I want to incorporate that into the book and also make it as an opportunity for the people who are on the ground taking photographs to promote their portfolio of work and their perspectives on what happened during the Freedom Convoy. So if you were on the ground in Ottawa and you took any photos, we're really looking for photos that encapsulate the emotions of what was going on. And there's some really, really stellar photographs that are very impactful. So I'm very excited for that. So if you know anybody or if you have any photos, by all means, send them to myself or any of us, or post it in the Honking for Freedom on on Locals, or any of our social media feeds, Instagram, whatever. We'll get to you. So a couple of things that we'll talk. I think if I go through everything, this is going to be a lot longer than I want it to be. So maybe we'll carry over some of the stuff for tomorrow, but we'll see. The attacks on me are not just myself, but other people associated with Freedom Convoy, although they seem to be the most relentless with me for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. Those attacks are about to begin again, and they're going to ramp them up again. I personally think it's hysterical. I love reading some of their nonsense. It's very entertaining. But just be prepared. You're going to start to see a lot of fake news narrative journalism or wannabe narrative journalism from, not real journalists. So that's going to be interesting. And do you know why? Do you know why they're going to start that? Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Robin. There's a reason for that. Because, and I'll give you a perfect example. During the convoy, I did an interview with Bari Weiss. And I think most of you may know who she is. Well-known journalist with the New York Times who had left within the past year, went on her own just because of internal... She started to realize, I think, that things are getting a little out of control with the left end of the political spectrum. And so she started her own thing, started her own podcast and whatever. So Bari and I did a 2-hour-long podcast, and it was great. This is somebody who I agree with some of her political perspectives and disagree with a whole bunch. But I think it was very successful in that it communicated to people on the other side of the political spectrum what was the perspective of the Freedom Convoy and why was it there. And at the end of it, she said, and I had a witness who was there, she said, wow, so you guys aren't extremists. And I said, no. So you guys are just regular people that, business people or whatever you described us, who are just concerned about government policy. And I said, yes. And that should be obvious to anybody who doesn't watch the fake news. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. And she came away saying, okay, you're just kind of like a regular people. And I said, yes. So what do you think she did? What do you think she did? I'll tell you what she did. She didn't release the podcast. Because it was very effective in communicating that we may have a whole range of different ideas and perspectives, but we're all respectful of one another. We're all respectful of people have different opinions, and we're just regular, reasonable Canadians. And I don't know if that's why she didn't release the podcast. Maybe there was another reason. I know she went to jump on the Ukraine button for whatever reason, I'm not sure. I didn't really follow up with what her perspectives were because it was busy with other stuff. But so that's why the attacks have to start and the attacks have to escalate, because when people get to hear us in our full context, as they will during the Parliamentary Commission, the general public needs to be primed for this narrative that we're in some way extremists or not regular, rational Canadians who just have concerns about government policy. That's it, right? So the way they do it is they smear. And, it's typical, it's cookie cutter, and it's going to be very interesting because they don't know what I have planned for them. The Substack, for those of you who, I think there's about 70,000 people who read the Substack I just released. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for all your comments. Your comments are amazing, and your support is amazing. The name of the last Substack was the Canadian the Canadian Revival will be televised. And so the next one I'm working on right now is actually about ArriveCan, and is a little bit a deep dive into ArriveCan and some of the things on the peripheral of it. And why is that important? Well, the reason it's important is because why do you think we had a protest? I mean, that's what the protest was about. It was about mandates and the data tracking app. Some people were more towards the mandate side, and then there's other people like myself who are more technologists who knew exactly what this was in terms of data tracking, who are like, no. So this is why ArriveCan is very important. and I'm going to expand upon that in the next Substack. So if you haven't subscribed, bjdictor.substack.com, and I'll try to get it out there as soon as possible. But again, the Arrive Can was the whole purpose. The Arrive Can and the mandates was the whole purpose of the protest, or the whole rationale behind the protest. But you know who doesn't know that? I'll tell you who doesn't know. The fake news doesn't know that, right? Because the fake news doesn't listen. All they do is promulgate some sort of fake narrative. A senior editor says, give me a story that says ABC, and then their clowns go out and then just regurgitate a narrative that enforces that. That's why they're always looking for B-roll that could be kind of the most extreme or fringe person, or at least painted in that light, because they're trying to just reinforce a narrative that they've already decided. It's the complete opposite of journalism. So anyways, that's that. Speaking of the fake news, this is funny. Did anybody see that what I call Smearumentary, which is a documentary of smears from, I think it's CTV? There's a guy, I call him my stalker or my mascot. I call him Punchy McGregor. He was the guy when Tamara was released out the last time who started pushing and shoving people. He looks like he got punched one too many times when he used to work at the strip club. He apparently is a credible source in the fake news media. His name is Greg McGregor? Something like that. The bald guy. I posted the bald guy with the face diaper. He was stalking me in my hotel room during the convoy, the hotel room we were doing the press conferences from. And Salman Seema, if you're not following Salman Seema on Twitter, follow him. Salman actually went out and spoke to him again to tell him to leave. Glenn McGregor. Yeah, Moby, I don't know. I like Punchy. I think Punchy is more accurate. He's such a fool. And it was funny. So a little bit of the, if you've seen Salman's video of Punchy being very offended that the fake news was not invited to our press conference, there was something going on before that. So somebody leaked out to the fake news that we were having our second press conference. So the lobby of the hotel, it was the Sheraton Hotel in Ottawa. By the way, they were great. And shout out to the Sheraton for being very supportive of all of us. So thank you. You don't know if truckers are ever going to get a hotel at the Sheraton anymore. Anyways, the hotel lobby was full. It was packed with fake news. And they're big, like Saturn V cameras. And, each one of them had a team of 4 or 5 people ready to come upstairs and yell and call us names and call us racist and all that sort of stuff, whatever narratives they were going with. I think the gun one was a big narrative they were trying to spin, that, there's guns all over the place. By the way, not one person was caught with any sort of firearms or weapons during the Freedom Convoy, because truckers aren't that stupid. So I sent Salman downstairs to the lobby, and I said, okay, Salman, here's a list of the media that have been invited to come to the press conference, because I didn't want to have a 10, 15-minute, scripted press conference. All 3 press conferences that we held were, I think the shortest one was an hour and a half long, and the first one, which Kean Bexty streamed, actually, I think that's the best place to find it, I think it was 2.5 hours long, because I wanted people to be able to listen to us in our full context. Andrew Lawton was there, Epoch Times, Beth from the Post Millennial was there, National Telegraph was there, and a bunch of other independent creators. I mean, it's a small room, but the room was packed. And they got to ask us any question that they wanted, completely unfiltered, not scripted. If we knew the answers, we would tell them. We didn't know the answers, we'd say, we don't know. That's just what we did. But the fake news media, instead of going to a source and showing they can behave to maybe try to participate, just doubled down on, Punchy McGregor's tactics. So Salman, when he told them all, okay, that's all we have space for, which was legitimate. We only had a small amount of space. And if we brought the fake news media, they would bring in these huge cameras. They'd bring in a team of 3 or 4 people for each camera, and they'd take up all the floor space. What would they do? They would just call us names, say that we're racist or whatever pejorative they want to, or label they want to give us, and then they won't get any views. So what's the point of that? That's not helpful. Like, that might be helpful for, spreading whisper campaigns in the political class, which is all they do. And I'll talk more about that in the near future, because that's a very fascinating thing of what goes on in political parties. But that was it. So we... that video you saw of Salman with Punchy McGregor, that was just after everybody was in the fake news media was told, take your ball and go home. And but Punchy didn't he thought he was still working at the strip club, and you can see him huffing and puffing and stepping and putting his chest out when Salman told him, I'm sorry, you're not real news, you're fake news. K9, the legacy kept going after the fact that children were there too. No insight into that, was always peaceful the whole time. Yeah, you know what? Like, the kids was amazing. It's so funny. The liberal activists who live in Ottawa, who are the ones who are staging the theater. Oh, the honking. Firstly, the honking was for the first day and a half, I think, approximately. And I mentioned this in the last stream because guess what? Truckers need to sleep too. We all need to sleep. And so after the first, that was just when everybody was arriving. But there were so many families and kids. And what do kids do when they see trucks? Like, what did I do when I see a truck? You don't often get that close to a tractor trailer when you're a child, right? Like, most of them are on truck stops and whatever. So the first time, and there's some amazing pictures of this, I'm going to try to include some of them in the book, these little kids going up to like these big, Kenworth W990s, W900s, or Peterbilts or whatever, and going like, asking mommy, can I see that? And they would go like this. They would say Hong Kong, and the trucker would, most of them have families and kids as well, would honk the horns. That's where the honking's coming from. It's coming from the families and the kids that were like, just, you could see the looks on some of their faces. They were like, wow, so big, like Optimus Prime. It was so amazing. And that was the actual vibe that was there. Now, apparently, according to Punchy McGregor, that equals neo-Nazi. I don't know. Whatever. By the way, did anybody watch that documentary? Because I was trying to, and not that you should, I guess I probably should at some point for a good laugh. But I saw it was posted online, and then it just flamed out. So I'm guessing 4 people watched it. Because most people know what's going on with the fake news at this point. At this point, they have zero credibility. So and just on that topic of the fake news and Punchy, that episode with Punchy McGregor perfectly encapsulates why you should not be watching or reading fake news. Don't. There's so many other resources now. It is not, fake news is damaging to your mental health. It's designed for people who are passively engaged and not thinking. It's designed for when you're in your kitchen, you're cooking dinner, your family's hanging out at the end of the day, and in the background is some fake news. Like in my gym, oh my God, they have, I turn it off every time I go to a different machine. They have this CP24 nonsense all over the place. I can't avoid it. I mean, Good Life, stop it. And every time, and it's all these, like, I don't really know much about what fake news is reporting on, but I see it when I'm at the gym, and it's just this insane hyperbole. It's crazy. Oh, Ryan C7, it's a rifle. Come on, dude. Like, you got me all excited. I mean, look, a rifle's cool too. But, like, I thought I was with a fellow Corvette bro. All right, whatever. Rifle, still cool. I agree, but it's not the sex on wheels that a C4 ZR1 with chrome wheels black would be. Anyways, So it's damaging to your mental health, and this is what's causing so much of the stress and anxiety. You know how I know? I get on the rowing machine, which is the only cardio I can do for the next 6 months, apparently. I get anxiety because I see, like I was 2 days ago, or no, not last night, the night before. Last night I was in the U.S. I'm on the rowing machine and I see this thing comes up on CP24 about the pandemic outbreak and how many cases and whatever. Like, oh, for fuck's sakes, enough with this, enough. Tell me the number of colds we have. Like, listen, very important thing for us all to realize. Everyone's gonna die. We're all gonna die at some point, but we have to live our life. What's the point if we're not living? If we're not living, there's no reason to fear death. So anyways, that I think it's important to understand that fake news is psychological torture. You are torturing yourself if you are reading or watching that nonsense. That's why Punchy McGregor is a perfect name for him, because he's torturing you. He's mentally torturing you. Turn it off, and more importantly, it'll take time. You know, you don't do it one go, but over time, get your family and friends to start to abandon it. There's so many alternative media platforms. Some are just as fake as the fake news, and some are completely objective and rational with some spin. That's fine, but that's where you should be going. I'd say, can everybody still see me on YouTube? Because I see it's flickering here. The variants are weaker, trust me. Okay, so K9 says, the variants are weaker, trust me. I had Wuhan Omicron, and this is the this new one 12 days ago. Yeah, this is Virology 101. I remember learning in grade 7, I think it was, that when you start to learn about viruses, that each evolution gets weaker and weaker. It has to, or else it won't be able to spread. And the whole idea of a virus is it needs to spread. If it keeps killing all its hosts, then the virus dies. I mean, this is just simple news. Robin says, I don't watch the news. That was affecting my mental health because of pure frustration I always felt from the lies and basis. Yeah, exactly. So Robin is articulating that point, that if you watch that, and worse, if you believe it. Like, I can watch a little bit of it and laugh because I know it's completely fake and scripted, but if there's too many people that watch it that think it's accurate. And I have some of those people in my family who are still, it takes time. We're 6 months into having these conversations. I was at the Convoy, as you know, speaking on behalf of it with Tamara and myself, and still, they're still starting to get it. We just had a very interesting conversation about Bill Maher in that respect a couple of days ago. The last thing I want to talk about, and then I'm going to get into a couple of comments and questions, is yesterday, I received an invite from the Public Order Emergency Commission Twitter account. What? I'm told I'm buffering and I'm getting, and can you guys see me, or are we frozen here? Because if we are, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish and I'm going to switch over to YouTube, to